Welcome to the first ever episode of Three Gyms Talk Hockey. I'm your host, Soam Mijas, alongside Michael Cardoza and Matt Milko. Since it's our first show, let's go around the room a little bit. Let's get to know one another. Matt, where are you from? What do you like? Give us something.
Let's see. I'm from Ashland, Mass. Huge Boston guy. Love hockey. Love playing with the boys. Love hanging out with the guys, too. Here to talk some hockey, boys.
Fuck yeah. And I'm from Long Island, New York, and yeah, I also play hockey, and huge NHL fan as well.
Yeah, no, that's our crew. I mean, I'm from Long Island too. Me and Michael have been fortunate enough to grow up together since we were kids, pretty much. Grew up playing together, love the game. Now we get to talk about it. So let's get right into it. We got a solid podcast episode lined up for us. And we're just going to start off pretty simple. NHL talk, split it up East Coast, West Coast, and kind of see what we got going on, a little bit of everything. I mean, started off, we're in the metro area, so let's get right into the Metropolitan Division. I mean, I think right off the gate, the Washington Capitals have been absolutely tremendous this year. Nobody really expected them to be at the caliber that they are this year, especially after last season. Last season, they made the playoffs, but they were arguably the worst team to ever make the playoffs. They were minus 37 in terms of goal differential. Faced the President's Trophy New York Rangers in the first round. Obviously, Michael, you're a Ranger fan.
Yes, sir.
Got smoked in 4 games. They didn't even stand a chance.
They didn't come close in any of those games either. I also want to mention how well Ovechkin's been playing this year, considering how tough he looked last year. I mean, this guy could break the goal record by the end of the season if the way he's playing. So I think he's been a huge part of them being so successful this year, along with some of the pieces that they've brought in.
No, 100%. I mean, Alex Ovechkin has been the storyline of the season in general. He's I want to say, he's at 879 career goals. He's 15 away from tying Gretzky's record, 16 away from beating it. I mean, the once deemed unbreakable record is in Alex Ovechkin's reach. 39 years old. He's got 26 goals in 39 games so far this season. He's averaging over a point per game with 43 points. I mean, like you said, story of the season so far. I don't think anyone expected. I mean, let's go back to the beginning of the year. Like, did either of you guys expect Ovechkin to come close to the record this season, let alone have the ability to break it?
I mean, I think at the beginning of the year he even struggled a little bit. He started kind of like last season. He wasn't very hot, and then out of nowhere he caught fire. I mean, he's a machine. You start him going, he's just going to keep scoring. So it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all thought Ovechkin was eventually going to break the record, but I don't think any of us thought it would be this year. And the fact that he has got a chance to break it this year, meanwhile also suffering a pretty brutal leg injury and coming back, like, I think it's wild that an unbreakable record could be broken this year and by one of the greatest Russian players ever to be in the NHL.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it goes back to what you guys said. I had absolutely no doubt in my mind that Ovechkin would have the ability to break the record. But did I think it would be this season? Not a chance. I mean, we talk hockey all the time. You guys could vouch for me. I said it. I think he's going to get close this year, but I don't think he's going to break it. But then again, I don't think anyone really expected him to be on the goal-scoring pace that he's at right now. And aside from that, there have been, I don't want to say there are rumors, because I think that Ovechkin said it himself, that he wants to retire in Russia. So my whole thing is, once he breaks the record, I feel like he's fleeing North America, playing a couple years in the KHL in front of friends and family and calling it a career. So for me personally, I'd love to see another couple years of Alex Ovechkin in the NHL, and if that means him not breaking the record this year, so be it. But if he breaks it, like we said, he beat Gretzky's record for most goals all time, looked at as an untouchable record. And then on top of it, he did it in fewer games, only cementing himself as the greatest goal scorer of all time.
100%. And I also think, like at the beginning of the year, I thought he'd be a 20, 25 goal scorer. He's looking to go well ahead of that pace. And like you were saying, like, you think that he might leave the NHL, go straight to the KHL after he breaks this record, but with the way the Capitals are playing, he could easily play another 2-3 years beyond this, and who knows what the goal record that he could possibly create to be. he could go 50 goals above Gretzky's record at this point. So it's all very interesting stuff with him.
That's exactly what I was thinking, though. Because, like, as long as the Capitals keep retooling, and they should be good for the next couple of years with the good prospects coming in, like Ryan Leonard and Cole Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think I agree. I think Ovechkin will end up playing in Russia, but I think it's going to be longer than we expect because of how good the Capitals have been and how well they're set up for the future.
Now I got another question for you guys. Alex Ovechkin obviously signed a multi-year contract for the purpose of staying with the Capitals to beat that goals record. Do you guys see Ovechkin signing an additional contract, maybe like a 1-year deal when this contract is up?
It depends. How long does his contract go till?
Let's see. I want to say he's got another 2 or 3 years. I'll double check myself right now. But personally, like you guys said, Michael, you mentioned Lane Hudson and Cole Hudson and Ryan Leonard. It's like players like that could really be game changers for franchises. I mean, we haven't seen such a dominant prospect like Ryan Leonard in terms of the skill set he has. He's a Matthew Brady to Chuck type player, and those don't come around very often.
Yeah, I mean, he's got all the tools to be a great NHLer. He's got physicality, he's got strength, he's got a great shot, great release, and he always seems to find the back of the net in the biggest moments, like the national championship, that whole playoff run they made. He was putting up numbers left and right. You see him in the bean pot. I mean, you put this guy on a big stage, he's going to show up.
Talk about the World Juniors.
Yeah, World Juniors as well. Like
the World Juniors.
He holds the C too. I mean, this guy is pretty much as dominant as you can be, and he's on the best team in college hockey right now.
No, 100%. And going back to the Alex Ovechkin conversation, after this season, he's got 1 more year left on his deal at $9.5 million. And I think with the cap going up, not only could the Capitals afford to give him that same contract for another season, I don't think it's out of the question for him to get it. It's just a matter of, does he want to stay in North America or does he want to go to Russia? So I think that's the ultimate question. But looking at the big picture, the Capitals have the prospects. They have Ryan Leonard, who's arguably one of the best forward prospects in the NHL. They have Cole Hudson, who's kind of become one of the better defensive prospects in the NHL.
Yeah.
And on top of it, Washington's running away with the East.
Yeah.
Running away with the East. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts a little bit about that, just because the Capitals last year barely made the playoffs, and now this year they're 9 points ahead of the second place team in the East in the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that we all think they're going to make the playoffs. Most likely be the 1 seed overall. I mean, that could always fluctuate, but I mean, they're destined for the playoffs. Back to the Ovechkin point, I could totally see him signing another either 1 to 2 year deal. I feel like it probably wouldn't go more than that. But with this cap situation, 100% they could afford him and keep him back. It's really all in his hands what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Caps' success is a testament to how good their GM has been and how good Spencer Carberry is. I honestly think Carberry might be the front runner to win the Jack Adams Award, which is Coach of the Year.
I think he should be 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, he's turned him and the GM have turned that team around from making the playoffs by barely sneaking in last year to be one of the best teams in the whole NHL this year with the talent they have, and I don't think anybody's expected it. They've had breakout players that everyone thought they were just going to be average NHLers, like Pierre-Luc Dubois, who struggled in his last 2 teams he played with, comes to the Caps, and he's been amazing with them. And Logan Thompson, who had success in Vegas, but Vegas gave up on him. He goes to the Caps, and now he's one of the best goalies in the league this year.
Yeah, I think another name to throw in there is Jacob Chikrin. Yep. I mean, he's had an absolute turnaround year from what happened with him in Ottawa. I mean, he wanted to get traded from the Coyotes. He got moved to Ottawa, which is where he wanted to play. It's where he's from. And things just didn't pan out for him there. And it's great to see a guy with that much skill get moved to a team and be able to find his stride. And, I mean, it's paying off. This team looks like an absolute wagon.
No, yeah. I mean, right now we're talking a whole lot of success, and everyone loves a success story. There's no questions about that. But, Doza, you mentioned Caps and their GM front management success being a part of why they've been so successful, I want to take a turn into your lane right now. Let's talk a little bit about the Rangers and how they've kind of taken a complete 180 from where they were at this point last season. And on top of it, I think big part of that is because of Chris Drury and kind of everything that happened from the end of last offseason leading to this point. Obviously, the Rangers have kind of turned it around a little bit after a month and a half struggles. But what are your thoughts with everything that kind of unfolded with the Rangers in terms of Chris Drury?
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers have had a lot of turmoil since for the last basically 2 seasons, with the pressure of winning a championship, as this is their window. Last year into probably the next year is probably around their ending window time. And I think Drury has pressure to make moves that have the team better for right now. And I don't know if I 100% agree with all the moves they made, like trading Kako and trading their young players. But I do agree in Drury's mindset of making the team better for now, because now is the Rangers' window.
I feel like the Kako move, looking back on it now, I mean, he's playing a lot better in the Kraken, but I just think he needed a change of scenery with you guys. I think I almost feel like the pressure in New York kind of got to him, and he wasn't playing to the level of his prospect level. Like, he wasn't reaching his maximum potential with you guys. And it's not like you guys didn't put the right players around him or have the right system for him. I think almost the spotlight was just a little too big for him. There's too many other names overshadowing him. So I kind of agree with that move. And I love the JT Miller trade. I think he's going to add a lot of physicality and toughness to your team that
you guys has.
Yeah, that you guys were kind of missing, right? Because you got rid of Trouba, you got rid of Barkley, like 2 of your more physical guys, and he'll bring that level of competition that'll hopefully bring you guys back into the playoff race, or you guys in the wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean, and going off that JT Miller trade, I mean, first off, with the Kako points that you made, I completely agree. I don't think that it was necessarily the skill set that was holding him back. I just think that it was the pressure being in the Big Apple. Second overall pick, he hasn't been performing the way that he was expected to as a second overall pick. Change of scenery. Seattle's a much smaller hockey market than the Big Apple.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's pretty self-explanatory. And I don't think the trade's been bad. Obviously, it's worked out for Seattle, but I also think that the trade's been pretty good for the Rangers. But going back to the JT Miller situation now, aside from the fact that JT Miller is a familiar face in New York, he understands how the spotlight works. He was there when he was younger. Now he's being brought back a more mature, more complete player than he was when he left the Rangers the first go-around. And on top of it, he's playing with one of his childhood best friends in Vincent Trocheck. And I think one of the best stories all around in terms of that is the fact that there's a little sneak peek into our conversation later on in the episode, but the Four Nations.
Yeah.
You got JT Miller and Trocheck as a PK unit for Team USA.
Yeah, and then Matthew and Brady Tkachuk playing together as well.
Exactly. So I think that even that extra 2 weeks at Four Nations together, it's just gonna help really mingle everything together. And for all we know, we come back and that might be one of the best PK units in the league in terms of just collectively being on the same page, having that extra time to work together.
Yeah, I mean, I love JT Miller's work ethic and competitiveness. I mean, he seems to be a guy that elevates the guys around him. He's one of those superstars. That's why I was really jealous when the Rangers went out and got him, because I really wanted him as a Bruins fan, because he fits our kind of mantra where he's like a big physical forward who can get to the net and score. And we're lacking a lot of goal scoring right now. So, I mean, props to Drury on that trade. I think everyone kind of thought he would eventually get to you guys. It was just a matter of what you were willing to give up and when it was going to happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, one thing that I've mentioned to Dozer a bunch is that when the Rangers were going through their little dry spell, I said that they were the New Jersey Devils of last year. The Devils were expected to make the playoffs. They had high expectations. Kind of went south. They missed the playoffs, and now look at the Devils, similar to the Rangers in a different aspect, complete 180 from last season. So definitely far from over in terms of season and playoff implications. But the Rangers have really turned it around. Right now, it's just a matter of making the pieces click together, getting on the same page, and almost the players in the front office kind of having that mutual respect. I feel like a little that was shed away with the Gaudreau situation over the summer, the Trouba drama leading into the trade. So yeah, I think that the Rangers are definitely in the right direction opposed to where they were. But moving into that team that I just mentioned, the New Jersey Devils, they went completely 180 too in the opposite direction. They were bad last year. This year they're good. They're third in the Metro, 2 points behind Carolina Hurricanes for second in the Metro. They got a new coach in Sheldon Keefe, who had an incredible record with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs obviously want to win. Sheldon Keefe was leading them to winning. They got an amazing goalie in
Jacob
Markstrom, which that kind of really cemented their goaltending, which I think was the Devils' biggest issue the last few years. So generally, I think a lot of teams are going in multiple directions. So I think that this is an awesome time to be a hockey fan. We've seen a lot of really big trades, a lot of really big moves. And from the entire metro area, from the Rangers and the Devils being comparable, to even the Islanders kind of being in that playoff conversation when a lot of people had doubts, the Islanders are pretty much on the same pace as they were the last 2 or 3 seasons at this point of the season.
They're really not far behind. Not at all.
No, I'm saying in terms of their last couple seasons, I'm pretty sure through the same amount of games, they've had the same amount of points the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And right now, 2 through 8 in the Metro are within, 15 points.
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
crazy.
even including the other wild card teams.
Yeah.
The
That's
wild
just
card race
Metropolitan.
in general is crazy this year. There's probably 10 teams still fighting, or that are going to be fighting for a spot coming down to the last 5 games.
I mean, yeah, it's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be really fun to watch. I feel like a lot of these teams are, when they come back from this Four Nations, they're going to be playing playoff hockey going into the end of the season here. I mean, every win seems like a must-win game for these teams at this point in the season. So it's going to be really, really exciting to see how these guys perform.
No, big time. And then kind of the last little piece of the Metro that we'll touch up on before we move on to the Atlantic, which I know that's your forte, Milks. The Islanders. Right now, they're in a little bit of a pickle between injuries and everything going on, but they're still in the race. A big name that's been out there, Brock Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Big conversation in terms of whether Islanders should trade him, whether they should try to re-sign him. Dobson's hurt. Islanders got D'Angelo. They got a lot of waiver assets in terms of their defense. Where do you guys stand in terms of the Islanders moving Nelson or even potentially Dobson?
So, I mean, I'm a Ranger fan. I know you're an Islander fan, and I would like to hear what you think. But if I was an Islander fan, I would think I would want the Islanders to sell off a couple pieces and try to look, not a full rebuild, but maybe a little bit of a retool. Because they don't really have a lot of young prospects that are going to be solid stars in the league. And they don't really have a lot of young guys that are going to develop into making the team better. So I think, especially Brock Nelson, I think they have to trade him, especially that he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Try to get any pick that you can and build a little bit up for the future and maybe make a run in the next couple years.
So I completely agree with you on that. I think even though you're just outside the playoff hunt, realistically, if you make the playoffs, you're probably not going that far. You might make it past the first round, but when you look at this roster, it's not a Stanley Cup contender. So
I agree, but then also you look at the entire East, and we can't compete with the best in the East.
Yeah, so when you look at it, I think if you can try to flip a first-round pick for Brock Nelson, absolutely do it. I mean, you guys have at least one really great prospect in Cole Iserman, who I'm absolutely jealous of. It's another guy that I wanted. But, I mean, if you can flip a first for Brock Nelson, even if you can get something for Kyle Palmieri, I mean, he's pretty old, but he's still playing pretty consistently. So if you can try to get maybe, I mean,
even a later round pick. Or
if you can get a second or a third or whatever the asking price is, I would just try to move some pieces. I mean, your team is a little on the older side. So if you can try to get some younger pieces in there that can fit with Barzell, I don't know if I would necessarily want to shop Dobson. It would really depend on what your return is there. but he's a great young piece that I think you guys can build around. So I think going into this deadline specifically with who you have coming up as free agents, I think it's time to move on from some guys and, like Dozer said, retool for the future here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I'm a big Brock Nelson fan. I love him, but at the end of the day, it's a business. You're trying to win a trophy. And this core, I mean, a lot of these guys have been Islanders not only for a number of years, but a bunch of them have been lifetime Islanders, including Brock Nelson. When you look at a player like that, his value right now, like you said, the Islanders don't have a lot of movable assets, at least in terms that they're willing to move. Brock Nelson being an unrestricted free agent, he goes unsigned, guess what? He's out of here for nothing. I'd rather get a pick, a player, something.
Yeah.
I'd rather let go of him for the slightest something than absolutely nothing. So I completely agree with that. In terms of Noah Dobson, though, I'm 50-50. Noah Dobson's arguably my favorite player on the Islanders. So it would be tough for me to say that I want to see him go. But at the same time, he's one of your bigger assets, movable assets.
You could get a great return for him.
That's what I'm saying. So I wasn't necessarily against it when Elias Pettersson was in the conversation.
Yeah.
He's not.
But now that he's off the table,
yeah,
who you gonna get if you move Dobbs? Like, who knows? Lou Lamoriello might be crafting something. He's very good at keeping his cards hidden. But Dobson, I wouldn't want to move. Palmieri and Nelson, see you later. It was a nice run. Always been going to be a fan, but I'm trying to see a little bit more exciting hockey here.
Yes.
Dobson is an RFA at the end of the year, correct?
He's an RFA at the end of this year. He's a UFA the following season.
What do you think about if Lou ends up keeping Dobson, but they can't come to an extension, or Dobson wants too much? What do you think about him getting moved in the offseason?
I don't hate it. I also wouldn't be opposed to like a sign and trade, kind of something similar to Matty Tkachuk.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely an option. But then again, it all comes down to what Milk said in terms of what we would get in return. Which, once again, I don't think someone like Lou Lamoriello just pulls the plug on a lot of things. But then again, you never know. I've seen him make some questionable decisions, some decisions that I probably wouldn't approve of. But once again, under my pay grade, I don't make those final decisions. But moving on to the Atlantic.
Oh wait. Should we touch up on what's going on in Carolina?
Oh, big time.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they made that big splash for Rantanen, giving up Natchez and Jury, flipped a few picks as well. And it seems like he doesn't want to re-sign in Carolina. I mean, I haven't really heard any news where they've even tried to get an agreement done. So
I think it's a little bit too soon to say whether or not he wants to re-sign. I don't think you make a move for a player of that caliber and give up pieces like Marty Necas to get a player like that if you're just going to flip him right away. With that being said, definitely not off the table to move him, but do I think it's going to happen? I think that there's a lot better options for Carolina considering what they gave up and the type of player Rantanen is.
Well, I have a question for you guys then. Would you try to flip him if you knew you couldn't get a deal with him done before the deadline? Now, that's not taking off the table that a deal could get done as the season goes on and like possibly the offseason, right? That's just if you can't get it done before the deadline.
I don't think there's any chance that the Hurricanes will move Rantanen. Even if they can't get a disagreement, even if they know that he's not going to re-sign, I don't think they will trade him because I think they've been in the playoffs the last 4 or 5 years trying to get a cup. They made the Gensel move last year and they let him walk. So I think the Hurricanes are going to do – I think they're honestly going to make another move and make their team better and make a playoff rush and try to, win the cup.
I would find it very surprising if they make the Gensel move, they let him walk, and then they make the Rantanen move, giving up a core piece in Natchez, who they have signed for another year, and then just letting a guy like Rantanen, a franchise player, walk. Like, I would almost give him as much as he wants.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
Up to like I'm not giving him 15 mil,
with
but
the salary cap
Right.
going up, I think Colorado's front office is really hitting their heads on the wall in terms of what they let up, because less than a week after they moved them, we
They
got
announced,
the news.
yeah.
We got the news that the salary cap would be going up,
That
a substantial amount.
yeah.
I mean, it right now it kind of looks like the trade favored them a little more. I mean, Natchez is playing a lot better than Rantanen right now. I mean, but that's just right now.
Yeah, I think that also has to do with the comfortability
Yeah.
of being on a team. Like, I feel like Colorado has almost given Natchez a little bit more of extended leash, if you will. They've been using him just as much as they used Rantanen. They're putting him in the same situations. Rantanen was playing over 20 minutes a night in Colorado. He's playing just under 20 in Carolina. So it is an adjustment for the player, too. I think Natchez likes the free will play, be the player that you are. Meanwhile, Rantanen's trying to kind of still figure out Rod Brindamore's structure, a very well-respected, very good coach, but a very hard-nosed, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to get type of coach.
And going on top of that, Rantanen, it's completely different. As Natchez in Carolina played with a bunch of different players, he was moving in and out of the lineup. Rantanen basically has played with McKinnon his whole career.
Yeah.
That's a very good
He's
point.
been on the wing with McKinnon his whole career. Not saying McKinnon carried him. Rantanen's still a top 10, 20 player in the
Definitely
league.
top 10.
But Rantanen definitely has to make more adjustments with Carolina playing with Aho and all those different pieces.
Yeah. I mean, off the top of my head, I kind of just, I don't know why I'm thinking of this now, but like, it really is very surprising how early they moved Rantanen compared to where the deadline is. I mean, like, I'm not necessarily sure why the Colorado front office was trying to move him in late January as opposed to waiting until March.
Because, I mean, I think part of the reason is not necessarily that either player is injury prone, but you look at the Four Nations face-off. Rantanen's going to the Four Nations face-off. Natchez isn't. Almost, they got a player of similar caliber with less of a risk of him getting hurt. Like, imagine Rantanen gets hurt during the Four Nations. He's not moving. He's not a movable player anymore. In terms of what the injury might be, obviously. But I'm saying worst case scenario, I feel like there was an upside in Carolina's mind to move Rantanen because they thought they wouldn't be able to afford him. And then on top of that, the Four Nations, which only Rantanen would have been included in that tournament. Natchez isn't. So I think that may have played a role, but that's a good point. You don't see a lot of blockbuster trades like that splat in the middle of an NHL season.
Yeah.
Obviously, moving on to the Atlantic now. That's Boston territory. But before we get to Boston, we're going to get to your favorite team in the NHL, the Florida Panthers.
Oh, man. I can't
mean,
stand these
We all
guys.
hate the Panthers.
I mean,
I can't stand these guys,
I'm-
man.
I'm the only one that hasn't lost them in the playoffs yet. Obviously, I feel for you guys. But let's talk about a Stanley Cup hangover. I mean, a lot of teams seem to have a Stanley Cup hangover. Obviously, the most recent team that hasn't has been the Tampa Bay Lightning, going to 3 straight finals, winning 2 straight. But the Stanley Cup hangover has not been a thing in South Florida. Tkachuk, Barkov, and Reinhart are picking up exactly where they left off last year. Goaltending has been phenomenal.
Yep.
And they're on top of the Atlantic Division yet again.
I mean, they got Reinhart for an absolute steal of a contract. I mean, he's a guy that could easily be making 10 mil. Easily 10 mil. And they signed him for what? An 8x8?
Yeah.
It was like 8 by 8.5. Crazy.
Yeah.
If he hit the open market, he would have gotten at least 12.
Minimum.
And
I agree with that.
Not to mention Tkachuk's contract too. I mean, he's signed for under 10 mil as well.
Yeah, Tkachuk signed for 9.5,
Which is
Reinhart signed
ridiculous.
for 8.625 to be exact, and Barkov's only signed for 10.
I mean, yeah, those are all steals, and Verhaeghe's pretty cheap considering his value as well. I mean, that guy is another one of those almost Ryan Leonard-esque type players where he will always come up in a big moment. Like, you see him performing in the playoffs almost, if not better than those three guys we just listed. I mean, he always seems to find the back of the net when it's overtime, and he's always in the right spots. It's really annoying. It's really annoying as a fan when you're seeing him go against your team and he's just ripping you apart.
No, 100%. And then obviously we were talking about the forwards, but then you look at the back, and obviously Florida has a bit of fluctuating defense. They don't have a lot of guys locked up for too long. But Gustav Forsling,
biggest steal in the NHL.
Yeah. I think that we've been saying this for the last season or two, that that's going to go down as one of the best contracts in the NHL.
Ridiculous.
Under $6 million for one of the better defensemen across the entire NHL. Like, I have no problem with Gustav Forsling being my team's number one defenseman for under $6 million until the 27-28 season, excuse me.
Yeah. And you go.
The Panthers are set up, and they're set up really nice, and it's scary with looking at their contracts, especially with the cap going up, how much it is, and the only bad contract I think the Panthers have is really the Bobrovsky $10 million,
and that's not even that hurtful.
At this point, it's not even that bad.
Quite honestly, I wouldn't even.
Bobrovsky's been playing.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, aside from the fact that how Bobrovsky's been playing, I think that once the Stanley Cup gets put into that conversation, that almost cancels out the bad contract. Obviously, the longevity of it, but you win a cup with Bobrovsky as your starter. I feel like it almost negates the whole conversation of good deal, bad deal, because you paid him what you paid him, but he brought you to the promised land.
Yeah.
So I think that's similar to what the Rangers are hoping with Igor. That's something that we didn't bring up, but Igor being the highest paid goalie in the NHL now, I think that was the mindset. Goalies could carry teams deep into the playoffs, but now let's see you build a team in front of those goalies to take you to where you want to be. And I think that the Florida Panthers are a perfect example, from the contracts to the players that they have really formed in this organization.
Yeah, 100%. And also another really good contract that a lot of people don't really talk about. This guy Eetu Luostarinen, he's a beast, man.
Yeah.
You get him for $3 million a year. That's a really good contract. And like we keep saying, the salary cap's going up. This team has a chance to sign Sam Bennett again after this year with that. And I can't stand that guy, man. He actually might be my least favorite player in the NHL in the playoffs.
Probably my least favorite player when he played the Rangers last season.
He's just one of those guys that you would love to have on your team, but you can't stand.
Listen, you got one of those too, so don't get too.
Imagine we had both.
Every team needs one.
Yeah, every team needs one. Exactly. But you guys got Marcia, and they got Sam Bennett.
If they can figure out a way to keep Sam Bennett on this team, they will be a cup contender for the next however many years.
I think they might. It's not out of the question. Like, we just went over all the contract they have, and now the salary cap is going up. And for those who don't know, salary cap's currently $88 million a season. That's the ceiling. Next year's $95.5.
Yeah.
Season after that, it's $104.
Like, that's crazy.
And the season after that, it's $113.5.
Crazy.
Like, teams are gonna have a lot more money to play with. Obviously, players are going to be demanding a lot more.
Yeah.
Like, take a player like Connor McDavid. What do you give a player of that caliber?
Whatever you want.
He might get 17, 18 by his contract's up.
I've seen rumors that McDavid,
maybe even 20, dude.
That's what I heard.
He's a guy that I would do anything to keep him on the team.
Once again, it's all rumors, but I heard 20, and thinking about an NHL player getting $20 million when right now the highest paid player is 14, I think that's incredible, and I love that for the sport. I really do.
I think it's amazing.
Now it's just a matter of keeping up in terms of revenue.
I mean, when you look at it, when you look at the sport of hockey and what these guys have to do, how they have to treat their bodies compared to what they get paid, compared to other sports, I think it's crazy, man. Like, these guys go out there every night and play their hearts out, and they're back checking, forechecking. They're getting checked left and right. They're blocking shots. And then you got guys in the NBA who are slacking off, not hustling,
taking rest days because they're tired.
Taking rest days and what? They're getting paid almost $60 million in a year. Like,
I mean,
it's crazy.
A bench player in the NBA makes more than the highest paid player in the NHL. And I think it takes a lot more skill to play hockey than it does to pass a water bottle down a few seats.
100%. And like that's why I think it's really great for the sport that this cap is going up. And like we talked about earlier, how the Caps GM has been so great. I mean, let's talk about Florida's GM getting these contracts signed. Like, this guy is doing a great job.
The time of him signing them. You know what I mean? Like, the sign and trade with Tkachuk. If he waited to sign Tkachuk after he got traded, Tkachuk's making
a lot more.
Yeah, he's making a lot more. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's also the, like, right time, right place, right time situation. It fell in their laps. Now it's just a matter of what they do with it. I mean, and now you just kind of hope, like, who knows? Maybe in a couple years you move Bobrovsky, slide Spencer Knight as your starter. Panthers have a lot of scary options.
They really do.
They're gonna. Florida went from having no fans in a building to now everyone loves them. Not only because they won a cup, gone to back-to-back finals, but they also have the foundation. They've given their fans something to cheer about.
I mean, if you really think about it, if you go back the past 5 years, you have the East Conference playoffs in Florida the last 5 years between Tampa and Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that's very overlooked. I think Florida has been running the Eastern Conference, realistically, for the last half a decade. And that's where the conversation of does state tax really play a role in where players sign? Look at what happened with Nashville. We'll get into that in a little bit. But you got certain states, certain teams that are looked at as that have a better advantage to sign players because of their state tax. But that really didn't seem to be a conversation prior to COVID, and that goes back to the whole salary cap issue, how it's been on a freeze for the last number of years because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I think that's affected a lot, and that's kind of changed the way that players kind of determine on where they want to go, what they want to do, if they want to stay somewhere long term, which I think that's crappy for certain teams because you got players who probably love playing where they're going, but they don't want to stay in certain markets because of how much money they're losing.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Which, if I was a player, I'd probably think the same way. As a fan, I don't like that because obviously you like to see certain players play where they're at.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a business.
It is, and honestly, I think just being in the Florida weather, plus the taxes, plus how good Florida hockey has been, like it almost seems like the new destination. Like whenever you think of hockey, you think of the original six, right? Northeastern teams in the cold, Boston, New York, Detroit, teams like that. It seems like all these guys are just moving south.
Or even the Midwest.
Like
think Minnesota, Chicago. Like all those teams were insanely good when we were growing up.
Those markets are opening up, and I mean, who knows where some of these big free agents this offseason will land. But the possibilities are pretty crazy between Marner, Rantanen.
Yeah, I mean that's another player. I actually want to talk about that for a hot second. Mitch Marner's another player on Toronto. He's been their heart and soul in the Big Four. I feel like obviously Marner, Matthews, Nylander. You got Tavares, whose contract's up after this season, but Mitch Marner's also an unrestricted free agent after this season. He's gonna demand a lot of money. Absolutely. Toronto is known to giving their forwards all the money that they want to stay. Obviously, it hasn't worked in their benefit. They don't have a championship. As a matter of fact, they haven't gone past the second round.
Yeah. So
what are you guys' thoughts on that? What do you guys think happens with Marner, and how do you think Toronto's really going to handle the situation, given that they know? I don't think Marner's going to settle for anything less than his market value, simply because of Matthews getting what he wants, Nylander getting what he wants, JT getting what he wants when he first got here, and he's probably going to get a little less, but he's going to get what he wants again this offseason.
I really think it comes down to what happens with Rantanen. I think he's going to set the market for the offseason and going forward.
Which leads me to my next question. It might depend on Rantanen, but like we said, if Rantanen doesn't sign before the trade deadline, does Toronto move Marner?
That's a very I can't see them moving.
I don't think they.
I don't think they move him, but I also can't see him letting him walk for nothing.
I honestly think they'll find a way to get a deal done. I'm gonna keep mentioning it.
Deal,
but like dude, the cap is just going up so much. I
Like-
know that they have a bunch of other contracts that are huge. I think they find a way to get a deal done. Now,
Like, do you guys think it's a possibility to sign Marner to a short 2-3 year deal? Not a prove it deal, but obviously kind of like let some of those contracts fizzle out and then see if you could sign him to long-term deal. But now my only thing is with the salary cap going up, he's only going to be getting more and more and more.
I think
Yeah.
I think Marner I think his mindset is now that the cap went up and he's hitting free agency now for last time he hit RFA status and the Leafs didn't sign him for a while. They finally got a deal done. But now that he has a chance to hit free agency and has a chance to get as much money as possible, I think he will end up staying with the Leafs the full season and hitting free agency. And it just depends on if the Leafs give him the money he wants and the years he wants. And I don't think Marner is going to settle for a short-term deal, even if it's for the money he wants.
I don't either.
I think he's going to want a 5 to 7 year deal.
I think, yeah.
Worth around 12 to 14 million.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. I think he's going to want a long-term, probably around 7 years when it comes down to it.
Well, that depends. Like, if he signs with Toronto, max contract's 8. If he goes elsewhere, then it's 7.
Well, I mean, you also have to look at his position. I mean, he's in a team that's in the playoff hunt every year. He's playing with arguably
The best goal scorer of the generation.
Yeah, the greatest goal scorer right now. You got William Nylander there. Do we think that the Leafs are going to choose to try to pursue Marner and let Tavares walk?
If they were smart, I think so, but also Tavares is a much cheaper option. Like, I don't see Tavares making more than, I don't know, I give him $8 million this offseason. With
That's
the cap
a lot.
rising.
That's
yeah,
a
but you got to
lot.
remember the cap's rising.
And that's what I'm saying. You can't. They probably cannot afford to keep both JT and Marner.
I don't think they can.
So, do they pursue Marner and let Tavares walk? You also have to remember they have to re-sign Matthew Nyes pretty soon too.
Well, yeah, because he's on his entry level, and what does a player like that make?
He's
on his
playing
first
really
contract?
well alongside Matthews, and I believe is it Marner on that line too, or is that
Matthews
Nylander?
and Marner.
It's I mean, this guy is playing. He's getting better and better every year.
Kid's 22 years old.
Better and better every year.
Yeah.
He's showing elevations in his game where you kind of almost have to. I don't know how much you pay a guy like him. I'd say minimum 5.
I think a lot of the younger guys get short-term deals, more like prove-it deals. Like, I remember as a Ranger fan, I know Kako, Laugh, all those guys, when they were doing better, not as a rookie, they weren't that good, but they got better, and their contracts were up. They gave them 1 to 3 year deals with a little bit less AAV, prove it, and then they get a big extension after that, which I think is the highest probability that happens with.
I completely
Matthew Nyes.
agree, and look at Jack Hughes. I
Yeah.
think that's the best example in the league. Jack Hughes didn't sign a prove-it deal. He put pen to paper, and now that is probably the best contract in the NHL, hands down.
I agree with
Arguably,
that.
yeah.
I don't
Very.
even think it's arguably. I personally think that is the best contract for a 99-point player, a player who's on pace for 90-plus points this year, to not even touch. What's Jack Hughes making?
I'm pretty sure.
I think it's 8.
8.5.
Yeah, I was gonna
something.
say. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I don't even think he touches 9.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And he's Jersey's heart and soul. He's their
top 10
franchise
player easily.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
they
So
have him signed up till he's 30 years old, 30 like
Something like
basically,
that,
yeah.
maybe just under 30.
yeah, like he's gonna go down as the best contract in the NHL, and I already think he's at that status. So I think that there's a lot to look forward to in terms of contracts, because especially with the cap going up, players are gonna look for the best ways to make the most money in terms of their career. I mean, you don't see a lot of, like, for example, we'll talk about the Bruins in a hot second, but a Sidney Crosby, he just signed another 2-year deal,
Yeah.
$8.7 million. He's been making $8.7 million practically his whole career. He could have, at the age that he's at, he could have signed. I think,
Anywhere.
Yeah, he could have went for 10.
yeah,
easily.
I think he could have gone well north of 10. It's just a matter of what teams were willing to pay him.
I mean,
But obviously, he wants what he wants. He wants to stay in Pittsburgh, and I think you respect that. Look at the Bruins culture, the way it's been all those years until, I mean, I'm not blaming Pasta, but until Pasta signed that monster deal, Bruins players were known to take team-friendly contracts to build championship teams,
yeah.
right? So it's more or less, right now, players are going to find the best way to make the most bang for their buck.
Yeah.
Play the best hockey, make the most amount. And obviously, guys like signing long-term deals. They like being comfortable in their setting. They like being where they're playing. But at the end of the day, it is a business. Guys get moved. And you got guys that are signed long-term getting moved still.
Well,
So,
with this whole Marner deal, I think what Toronto has to do is just keep looking ahead to the future. They have so much young talent. I don't think there's a need to keep a guy like John Tavares. I think if they really want to keep their championship contender status, I mean, clearly they need to find ways to win in the playoffs. They have the team. They have an amazing roster. They just need to dial it in when it comes to the playoffs. And I don't like losing Marner will hurt them a lot. I mean, I realize when it comes down to the playoffs, he honestly just does not show up. I don't
that's
know what
also
happens.
the most of their roster.
I mean,
Pretty much everyone but Nylander. Nylander, I think, is the only proven playoff performer.
I mean, Matthews had a good playoff run when he was healthy, but he got hurt, right? So, I mean, that team just needs to find ways to win, whether it's finding a goaltender. They have no problems offensively. And maybe just finding another key defender. I mean, you can't even make excuses for this team because you look at their roster and it's almost just a question mark after every season when they're done in the first round.
It literally, I mean, Milks, you're a big franchise mode guy on NHL. Their team literally looks like a franchise mode.
Yeah,
it looks like a team that you'd craft up playing on your free time. And the difference is they have the pieces in their hands, and they're just not making it work. So, I mean, quite honestly, as an Islanders fan, I hate Toronto. So be it. Let them rock with what they have. Let them get to the second round and get bounced.
I mean, even if they do make it past the first round, let's say they match up against a wild card team or even the Lightning. Let's say they win that. They're not beating the Panthers. There's just unless the Panthers go through some crazy injuries, I really just don't see them winning in a 7-game series. There's like a select few teams that I think the Panthers could get a run for their money, and I don't see Toronto being a team that can do that yet. I think they're...
Now I have a question. What's your reasoning behind that? Do you think that's like a personnel issue?
Or
do you think it's the Panthers having the experience from the last couple seasons?
I think there's some sort of mental block on these Toronto players. And I also think that they need to find a goaltender that can... I think they need to find a proven goaltender, a veteran goaltender that they can bring in. And honestly, yeah, I think the experience of the Panthers and understanding how to handle these big situations and making the moment, making all the calm decisions, the right decisions, having the leadership of a guy like Barkov. I mean, this guy just knows how to win. He knows where to be. He knows how to play defensively. Yeah. It's really, if you have a guy like Barkov matching up against Matthews the entire series, it's going to be really hard for Matthews to find space.
Barkov's also he's proven to be one of the better defensive forwards in the NHL. He's the new Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, and kind of on the talk of mentioning Bergeron, let's take a look at your favorite team, the Bruins, a little bit. It's like right now, 2 seasons ago, the Bruins had the best regular season of all time. And like we just said, they get bounced by Florida after blowing a 3-1 lead in the first round.
Yeah.
Womp womp. But after losing Bergeron and Krejci after that season, the Bruins are right now where they were expected to be last season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And last season they had a really good season. Obviously, didn't get to where they wanted to go, but they held their own.
Yeah.
And I think that this season they are where they were supposed to be last year. So I kind of just want to get your little thoughts on that, how the season's been going for the Bruins. And once again, UFA talk, Brad Marchand's contract's up. What do you do with him?
Well, first of all, it's very obvious to all Boston fans that we have regressed this season. Goal scoring's hard to come by. Our new free agent signings have not at all lived up to the potential that we thought we would be bringing in. With a guy like Elias Lindholm that we would rely on to be a top-line center playing alongside Pasta and Zaka, he's playing third-line minutes right now, and we're paying him $7.5 million. Like, that is something that cannot happen. Zadorov, I mean, he has his good moments, but he also has some very poor moments. I mean, he's not disciplined at times. He makes poor passing, bad decision making in the defensive zone. There was a play the other night where we were up a goal in the third period, and he had the entire ice in front of him on a PK, and he tries to chip it out from the corner, and it doesn't even get out of the blue line, and then they go and score on that possession. So it's just about being smarter with him. I mean, if you look at the team right now, Pasta is basically carrying the team on his back. He's playing outrageous this year. I think he's on a 13-game point streak, putting up almost 25, 26 points within that span. So I think Don Sweeney has a lot of interesting decisions to make. If I was him personally, I probably would try to find a deal for Marchand because he's still producing at his age. He's the captain of the team. He's been tenured to the team his whole career. I think it would just really disrupt the culture of the Bruins to move a guy like that. Even if you get some young pieces, I get that we have nobody in our development program. I mean, Don Sweeney's been awful at drafting players recently, and that's going to hurt us in the long run. But if you look at our winning window, realistically, it's right now. If you look at the ages of some of our guys and how our salary cap is structured right now with how we're paying these guys. So if you can keep Marchand on a realistically 2-year deal, I think that would be helpful for the team. He brings a lot of leadership. He brings energy. And he's one of those guys that you want on your team because he's a pest. And so I don't agree with trying to move him. And honestly, I think we're gonna come down to be buyers or sellers at the deadline, depending on where we are. If you look at how we're playing right now, we're basically like a win-loss team. We win a game, we lose.
Well, you guys have only had one win streak over 3 games this season.
It's really hard to watch because you have such high expectations for your team, and then they're just not producing. So if we're in the hunt, I really don't see us making a big move. Maybe we make a little move, but I don't see us making a big splash this season.
Yeah. I think that, as you said, the Bruins' biggest problem through the season has been their goal scoring, as Pasta's basically been the center of their offense through everything. Their power play hasn't been great. I think the Bruins will definitely still be around the hunt, maybe even in the wild card spot come deadline time, and I 100% think they will be buyers. I don't know how big of a move Sweeney will make, but I definitely think they'll be in the market for a forward, as I'm pretty sure they were in the JT Miller sweepstakes. I think the Bruins definitely need some help to bolster that forward core, make it more depth, as they're really only getting scoring from one line, and one player is driving that, basically their whole offense.
Yeah, no, like you both said, the Bruins are obviously still very much in the hunt. They're only a point out of the wild card spot. Obviously, they've played. I want to say two more games than most teams, but then again, there's still a lot of hockey to be played. Those, like you said, Pasta has 24 more points than the second leading point getter in Brad Marchand.
That's ridiculous.
Pasta has 68. Marshy has 44.
Yeah.
So
that's a big divide between 1 and 2. That kind of reminds me of the Rangers last year with Panarin. But the difference was
the Rangers had a bunch of
good guys.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like the Rangers had a bunch of guys getting points, being situational. Panarin was just their go-to, I guess, which is fair to say.
It's a great guy to go to.
Obviously, but my point is they were also at the top of the league standings. You guys are fighting for a playoff spot. You guys need a little bit more from your secondary scoring.
Yeah,
which goes back to what you were saying, lack of scoring.
I really think it just depends on who's on the market when it comes to the deadline. But I also don't want to see the Bruins giving up a first-round pick for a guy that they're going to keep as a rental. You know what I mean? We have no young development like in our system whatsoever. So I want to keep as many high draft picks as possible.
Well, I agree because the Bruins are similar to the Islanders in that regard, where they don't have much or many prospects.
No prospects.
Yeah, so
we
it's
didn't have
like-
a single prospect at the World Juniors.
Yeah, I mean, which is
Yeah, I think they're the only team to not have.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was disgusting to
Yeah.
look at.
Yeah.
So if we can just try to find like a veteran goal scorer, even if he's a little older, bring someone like that in without having to give up a first round pick for a guy, even a second round pick. I just don't see us making a big move at the deadline, especially with the pressure Don Sweeney's under. Don Sweeney's kind of on the hot seat right now. So I don't know.
I completely agree with everything you're saying, and going back to it, we talked about Brock Nelson. I think Brock Nelson would be a perfect fit for the Bruins.
Yeah.
He's pretty cheap. He's not gonna. You could probably get him for less than a first, maybe a first and nothing, a second round pick and a decent prospect.
Yeah, I was gonna
think that
say
would
Brock
be-
Nelson. I would give him up for a second and like a good prospect or a first and nothing.
I
If-
think
if
he'd
we could get him
slide
for
in
that, yeah.
on a second line for the Bruins and help their goal scoring 100%.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's known for.
Between JT Miller and Brock Nelson, those were the two guys that I thought would probably fit best with us. I mean, JT Miller's obviously gone, so, but Brock Nelson is the name I hear that's being thrown around a lot. So it'll be interesting what the Islanders ask. It'll also be interesting what other teams will want Brock Nelson. I know there's a lot of other teams that will look
Yeah, I
for
know
a big,
Minnesota's
strong
very-
forward.
Yeah, I was gonna say
So-
Minnesota's very.
And
high
Minnesota
up there.
probably has more to offer than we do, especially if Minnesota's willing to give up a first.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to watch at the deadline. Still got about a month out, maybe a little less.
A little less, I'd say about half a month, 3 weeks.
And
Yeah.
these next couple weeks after the Four Nations is really going to be, we're going to find out a lot more news on who's going to be on the block and who's not going to be on the block, depending on how these teams play. Because just a matter of games, that's the difference between becoming buyers and sellers.
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened last night's game. Shea Theodore gets hurt. Now
Yeah.
he's expected. He's week to week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what got. I mean, obviously Shea Theodore is not on the market, but figure a player like that's on the market. Now a team like Vegas can't move him because he's probably hurt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and he's a big defenseman of
yeah,
that
no.
core.
So there's definitely a lot at stake. But I want to touch up just briefly on the Western Conference a little bit. I feel like there's
Sure.
a lot of talk about that, and then I want to get into some Four Nations talk because we have an exciting game to talk about that happened yesterday. We have another exciting game that's about to happen tonight.
USA.
But going into the West, heading right into the Pacific, Edmonton Oilers, obviously run by Draisaitl and McDavid. Draisaitl's first player to 40 goals this season. 40 goals in, I want to say, 55 games, which I think is,
Yeah. I mean,
come on.
he's worth every penny of that $14
yeah,
million
Draisaitl, 40
contract.
goals in 55 games. He's at 83 points through those 55 games, so he's already guaranteed a point-per-game player this season. McDavid's not far behind. He's got 71 points in 49 games. He obviously missed a couple games because of suspension, some injuries. But yeah, I mean, Edmonton's Edmonton. They got as close to winning a cup last year without hoisting it.
Yeah.
Goaltending was the biggest issue. Obviously, they got Skinner still in net. But questions, comments, concerns on the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, other than the fact they're being run by two of the three best players in the NHL, there's not really much more to say about them.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be, if I was an Oiler fan, I wouldn't be concerned at all as long as you have McDavid and Draisaitl. I don't think anyone will be concerned.
Yeah.
They will have, I think they'll have a cakewalk to make the playoffs. It's just how they perform in the playoffs and how their depth really performs. I don't really know what the Oilers plan to do at the deadline because they don't really have many movable pieces. They probably have a first that would get traded if they find a player. And I don't really know what they would be going after. Probably a defenseman to lock up that decor, and their biggest problem still is goaltending, but I don't see them going after another goalie as they tried to the last couple of years, and that didn't work out, especially with Jack Campbell still getting paid $5 million, and I think he's in the minors.
That's crazy.
Number one, he is in the minors. Number two, you mentioned draft picks. They actually don't have their first round draft pick this year. They only have a second, a third, and then obviously 6th, 7th.
Okay.
but they have their next year in 2027 first. So once again, going into movements,
Yeah.
that takes a lot off the table, especially for a rental.
One name that I did hear thrown around a lot was actually Marchand's name to the Oilers. Mm-hmm. Again, I really don't think it's going to happen, but I have heard speculation that could be a guy that they look to go after. Looking at the standings right now, they're first place in the Pacific, right? So I think if they have to match up against Colorado in the first round,
that'd be crazy.
That's a scary matchup for them. I think that would be a really good series. I could see that going either way.
Yeah, and then Colorado's another team that really hasn't been performing at the level they want to. Hence, I mean, not the exact reason, but another reason why they moved Renton for a piece like Martiniches.
Yeah.
They're trying to get to where they want to be. They made a goaltending change.
Yeah, exactly.
They got Mackenzie Blackwood. They got rid of Georgiev.
Ex-Ranger.
Exactly. So it's more or less the Avalanche are doing, or they've done as much as they can this far into the season to improve their roster before the deadline, and they still have another 2-3 weeks before the deadline to do more. So, like you said, that's going to be a scary matchup, but I also wouldn't count Colorado being out of a 2 or 3 spot.
Absolutely not.
In the Central.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I could totally see them jumping the Wild. The Stars and the Jets, I could see them jumping the Stars, but I don't see the Stars dropping out of I don't see the Stars dropping to a wild card spot, to be honest.
I think, I kind of agree with that. I mean, anything could happen, but yeah. I agree with that, generally speaking. And, I mean, shoot.
Yeah, I think as a whole, the West is just a lot more competitive than the East. I would just say that the top teams in the West are a lot better than the top teams in the East.
Yeah.
As the East is more like a bunch of average teams fighting for a playoff spot. Meanwhile, the West is more like the top teams just rolling over.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of top teams like the Stars, the Jets, the Oilers, the Knights.
The East definitely has a lot more. The East definitely has a lot more close competition in terms of superstar status teams.
And that also goes back to something that I know I spoke to you, Milks, about, but I guarantee I probably spoke to you about it as well at some point. I don't even necessarily think that the competition is any better or worse in the West. I just feel like the East is more spread out in terms of their competition, where their players are. I feel like, look like a team like Edmonton, McDavid, Draisaitl, both on a team. You look at Vegas, the way that they've worked the salary cap is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, they're back and their goaltending, it's a little bit ridiculous. And then even a team like Minnesota they're mainly homegrown.
I love Minnesota's roster.
But they have an incredible roster for it being mainly draftees.
Yeah.
Then you have Winnipeg. Connor Hellebuyck's on pace to win another Vezina.
He might even win the Hart.
Yeah.
If it's not Draisaitl, it might be Hellebuyck.
Yeah,
at this point in the season.
I completely agree. Like, he's putting up remarkable numbers. He's number 1 in the NHL in save percentage, number 1 in goals against average. Has the most wins by over 10, I want to say.
I'm pretty sure he's got more than double the second place in shutouts.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so you got, like Dozer, you said, you got some crazy good teams in the West. And right now, the same way that we're talking about the Capitals running away with the East, that's pretty much Winnipeg with the West. Right now, it's Washington and Winnipeg, 1 and 2 in the league, just going back and forth.
And if we're going to talk about Winnipeg, we should talk about how they haven't really had success in the playoffs the previous years, even though they have been a very competitive team.
Yeah.
They haven't been first in the West like they are this year, but they have been competitive. They were supposed to, they had hopes to win a playoff series, maybe 2 last year, and it didn't really work out. And that's mainly because their defense and Hellebuyck didn't really show up in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And, Hellebuyck has been the best regular season goalie undoubtedly the last 2 years. We just got to see him perform in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that whole team goes.
Exactly, and Hellebuyck kind of reminds me. I'm comparing him to a team, but as a player, Hellebuyck seems to shut down in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like last year against Colorado in that first round, how many high-scoring games did we see?
There was at least one 8-goal game against them. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, it was 7 or 8, but I think his goals against average was over 4 for that playoff series. Which, looking at his regular season numbers, you would have never guessed that. I compare Hellebuyck to the Toronto Maple Leafs as a whole.
Yeah.
Amazing regular season, come playoff time, just a switch flips.
I don't know if it's the pressure that the fans put on the players. That environment seems electric when they do the whiteout, But it seems like every year that rolls around and the Jets are in the playoffs, they're almost destined to get bounced in the first round or
And
the
that's the
second
thing.
round.
I wouldn't even say they're destined to get bounced, but it's more or less like you go into it every year with expectations. All right, Hellebuck had another Vezina caliber season. He's arguably the best goalie in the league. Let's see if this year's going to be different than the next. And every year it feels like Winnipeg fans are disappointed.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Edmonton. When Edmonton made the playoffs for the first time in McDavid, they won a playoff series. Electric. All right, that's experience. They make the Western Conference Final. They lose to Vegas. I believe it was Vegas. Then, once again, they make the conference final. Dogfight. They bust through to the finals. What happens in the finals? They go down 3-0.
And then
They just clawed their way back, like you said, and they lose a tight 2-1 Game 7.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, experience plays a very big role, but how much experience is going to be enough, if that makes sense? You know what I mean? It's like, how many times has Winnipeg gone into the playoffs, just completely pulled a 180 from what they were in the regular season, and then fans are like, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's it's bound to be Winnipeg's time.
I think
one of these seasons.
I definitely think there's just a lot higher expectations this year based on how good they've played this regular season, because they've had good regular seasons and they've made the playoffs, but I don't remember the last time I've seen them look this good in the regular season.
I don't think they've ever been this dominant.
So
but, yeah.
So they're gonna have high expectations. I think they have to at least make it out of the first round. I mean, this team, if you really look at how they're playing, they should definitely make it to the Western Conference Finals.
No, yeah, 100%. And then that I mean, you saying that just reminds me of a team like the Dallas Stars. It's like, once again, it goes back to the Dallas Stars. They keep making deep playoff runs. They obviously made the Stanley Cup final in 2021. But at the end of the day, it's like, all right, how much experience is too much experience without getting over that hump? It's almost like the Washington Capitals constantly getting bounced in the second round. They finally beat Pittsburgh in the second round. They go on to win the cup. The Avalanche, they finally get over that second round hump. They go on to win the cup. It's like, after a certain point, it's like, all right, Dallas has made how many conference finals? Just go in there and win the damn thing already. It's like, you know what it takes to get that far. Now just push a little deeper.
I do think that the Dallas Stars window is going to start to close pretty soon. They have a lot of older guys. They also have a lot of good young pieces, but their time to capitalize is kind of right now. I mean, they made that move for Granlund, which I think will help. I mean, he's a great center. He's fast. He has experience. He knows how to score. I mean, they need to be healthy by the time playoffs come around too. I don't know how long Heiskanen's going to be out. I don't know when Sagan's coming back either. But to have all of those guys in your lineup come playoff time, they're going to be another one of those teams that's not going to be fun to play against.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Dallas fully healthy, they might have the most depth forward core in the entire league. They got three lines of forwards that could be a first line for any wild card contending team.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree with everything that's being said. And then one last thing to kind of touch up on in terms of the Western Conference before we move on to Four Nations talk. Is the Nashville Predators, are they the biggest disappointment of this season? I don't even think that it's a question, but I got to throw that out there. What are you guys' thoughts on Nashville?
They shocked me this year, going from one of the highest scoring teams last year and then making all those moves in the offseason. Brady Shea, Jonathan Marchessault, Steven Stamkos, having the same coach, basically the same decor, and then being this bad and being one of the lowest scoring teams shocks me. How good their forward core is, and I really don't know what they do at the deadline and how they move forward after this, especially of how big the contracts are and how much money they are. They got Stamkos signed to over $7 million. They got Shea signed to $7 million.
Stammer's 4x8.
Yeah.
The Brady Shea deal looks pretty bad right now. I think
he's
all of them
Stamkos looks pretty bad. I think the best signing that they made that's worked out is Marchessault.
Yeah.
He's been
and he still has.
Yeah, and he hasn't done anything exceptional.
And I don't know if they're sellers. I don't know if they're mild sellers. I have no idea what Trotz is going to do at the deadline, especially him being a new GM.
I mean, if I'm him, I wouldn't sell yet. I would take this year as a loss. Try to stock up in the draft. I think they have a ton of picks this upcoming draft, right? They have like 3. This is let's just talk about this. This draft class is exceptional this year.
It is.
This is a very good draft class where you can get a lot of guys. So, I mean, if you can maybe try to flip, I know they don't want to move Stamkos. Maybe if they want to move Marchessault, but I don't know if that's in their best interest. If they could, they don't even need more draft capital because of the picks that they have. But
going off the picks, they have 3 first-rounders,
yeah,
2 second-rounders, a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 2 6th, and no 7th.
Yeah.
So if I'm them, I'm just gonna take this season as a loss, stock up in the draft, and then who knows? They could completely return around by the end of the summer. I mean, but I almost wouldn't. Back to your original question on the biggest disappointment, I almost wouldn't consider them to be the biggest disappointment.
Really?
Looking at the season right now, I know this is going to make Dozer mad, but I think the Rangers might be the biggest disappointment right now.
I would agree if they didn't make moves and they weren't better. But the last 2 weeks, they have looked better. And, I mean, I'm definitely going to be biased, but I still think they will end up sneaking in a spot of the wild card. And if they do that, it's definitely a loss. But as long as they make the playoffs, I don't see them as being the biggest failure of the season.
I kind of agree with Dozer with this one, just because the only reason why I would hands down consider Nashville the biggest disappointment of the season goes back to what Dozer started off with. The season that they had last year. Now over the summer, they commit a whole lot of money to a lot of proven NHL players that are all pretty much out of their prime. Stamkos not in his prime. Brady Shea's not in his prime. Marchessault probably
kind of leaving his prime.
I was going to say, if he's not out of it yet, he's leaving his prime.
I mean, they got Forsberg, but that's
Yeah, but that's not part of asset they've
that's not who they acquired.
Yeah.
I mean...
So it's like, based off the players that they got, they were expected... in terms of, like, betting stats, they were top... Weren't they top 3 to win the Cup this year in terms of...
No.
I don't think
that's
definitely
right.
top 10.
No way they were top 3.
I remember them being up there in terms of Stanley Cup championship predictions. But with that being said, nobody expected them to be 30 or 32.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yeah,
I could be very far off. I didn't fact check myself before saying that, but being 30 or 32 is not in the cards for Nashville this season. So I think with how much money they spend in the offseason and kind of what was expected of them coming into the season, no team could even be close to being considered a disappointment the way that they were. Like last year, New Jersey was looked at as a disappointment for missing the playoffs. They weren't this bad, though.
That's all very good points. I was just thinking from the perspective that the Rangers, up until the JT Miller trade, really their roster hadn't changed a whole bunch from being President Trophy winners. I mean, you lost Goudreau, but you still have all of your core pieces with Panarin, Trocheck, Zibby. You just re-signed Igor. Like, you didn't lose any tremendous piece that would be like, oh, that's why they're losing all those games.
Just going off that, you said that they haven't really changed, their roster hasn't really changed a lot, and that's because of the salary cap constraint. They've been basically neck and neck with that salary for the last 2-3 seasons, and they finally were able to make a move because they traded Trouba's contract away, and that's why they got JT Miller. And that's also why they haven't really been able to make moves like
bigger moves.
Yeah, bigger moves. And like this offseason, I was expecting the Rangers to make some moves, but a lot of players got overpaid or like paid a lot more than the Rangers could have given them. So that's, I think.
Yeah, and then it's like on top of that, it's comparing the Rangers last year to this year. Yeah, they have a very similar team. Obviously, the team isn't where it was last year, but at the same time, a team like the Rangers, like it goes back to what we said. Like, look at the East; they're down, but they're not out.
No, not at all.
All it takes is being a wild card spot, make the playoffs, and it's anyone's game.
Especially when you got a goalie like Igor that can steal any game.
Yeah, number one, yes. Number two, it's like, once again, obviously not to put salt on the wound, but look at the Bees 2 years ago. 65-win season, they get bounced in the first round. Like, come playoff hockey,
anything can happen. It's anyone's game.
Is scratched. The regular season is all in all pretty much to give you the best chance. Yeah, advantage. Home ice advantage. That's all it is. Like, once game 82, the final buzzer is rung, that's it. New season of hockey starts anyone's game, and I'm a firm believer of that. So, I mean, Nashville, with everything that Nashville has, I think they really could turn around the next, 2-3 years.
And the final point I'll make in talking about this, like you said, is anything could happen in the postseason, and I completely agree with that. Hockey is unlike any other sport, in my opinion, where any given team could beat any given team on any night. It's not just one player that can control the game. You could have the best roster in the league by far, and a goalie will steal a series for you. That's all that matters. That's all that takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that was an all-in-all very good recap of everything that's been going on in the league. Obviously, this is our first episode, so we hadn't been up to par with what's going on.
But we will be.
But
We'll be back.
now we are, so now we will be. But I want to look into the Four Nations face-off. I feel like we've been looking forward to this since it got announced.
The boys are going.
Especially as big hockey fans. Yesterday, we all dropped a bit of a bag. We will be in attendance next Thursday during the final game.
We will be doing the post-game press conference with Paul Bissonnette and Wayne Gretzky as well, so please tune in.
But yesterday, we got the puck drop. The first game of the tournament, Canada-Sweden. Obviously,
Hell of a game.
Great game.
Obviously, we expected a really good game, but did you guys expect the type of game that we saw? I mean, some of the comments that the players were giving. Drew Doughty, it's the fastest game I've ever played in.
Yeah, I think
That's coming. That means a lot coming from a 2-time Stanley Cup winner, 2-time gold medalist. I want at least one. I want to say 2-time gold medalist. That's a heavy sentence.
Yeah, and I think that's not only. I think he said that not only because of the level of competition and the level of skill that all these rosters have, as it's the best players in the NHL from every nation, but also all these guys. If you look at previous interviews talking about the Four Nations, all these guys are fired up to play.
Fired up.
They love playing for their nation, and they are all going balls to the wall to try to win gold or try to win gold for their country.
I mean, yeah.
Bring home that pride.
It's a once in a generational type thing. I mean, the last time this happened was what? 2016.
2016 World Cup of Hockey.
So the opportunity to play for your country, all the stuff coming into this tournament about how NHL players might play soft or not go to their full potential because of potential injury risk.
It's not what it means to be a hockey player.
These guys aren't NBA players where they're gonna not try because it's the All-Star game. These guys are gonna go balls to the wall because they're playing for their nation. They got their nation on their front. I mean, you play for a team like Canada, how literally hockey is just in their DNA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be an amazing tournament to watch. I'm super stoked for the games to continue. Yeah. That arena last night, the atmosphere, just watching it on TV looked crazy.
Yeah, no, and listen, it goes back to what you guys said. It's not hey, this is instead of an All-Star game, we're going to sit back, play hockey, give the guys a show. It's like, no, Jack Hughes literally said before yesterday's puck drop. I mean, he didn't play yesterday, but before the tournament officially started yesterday, Jack Hughes says, I would not be surprised if the intensity is higher than an NHL game. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because it goes back to players aren't treating this as, all right, most guys had 2 weeks off, we get extra games. They're looking at this as, all right, let's bring the biggest hockey prize to our country pretty much in 8 years.
Think about how big of it is for not just the players, but for the entire hockey community. This is the type of event that can make the game grow so much more for just people sitting at home who don't really watch hockey, and then they watch a game like that when you got Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, Makar. Those are all top 10 players, top 15 players in the league, and 3 of them are top 5 without a doubt. Mm-hmm. To be able to watch that with those guys competing at their highest level. I mean, watching McDavid wheel around last night, he was on another level. I mean, he didn't score, but he was just flying constantly.
He didn't score, but he did a lot of things that weren't shown on the score sheet that helped Team Canada win. It's like, at the end of the day, number one, it goes back to the last time we had a tournament like this was 2016. That's a long time ago. a lot of these guys, I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, JT Miller, certain guys have never represented their countries before in a senior tournament because of how little of them are really held. Now you look at a game like yesterday, from the opening ceremony, you getting goosebumps just on the TV watching.
Yeah. I had chills when Mario Lemieux walked out there. I was like, holy.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't see stuff like that. So, yes, that helps the league grow the game as a whole. But then you have the certain skill that you have, and in the middle of the season, these guys are prime time. Like, this isn't a summer tournament. This isn't a before the season, after the season. This is right in the middle of when guys are in mid-season form. You are getting the best out of every single player. And I think that is so important in terms of you want a best-on-best tournament.
Yeah.
Not only do you have best-on-best in terms of players, every single player is at the top of their game. We are in the mid-50s in the NHL season. This is when guys start really turning up.
Yeah, this is going to honestly be like, I mean, arguably this could be Crosby's last time suiting up for Team Canada. I know the Olympics are around the corner, but I don't even think it's confirmed if NHL players are going to even compete. Oh, they are?
It is.
Well,
yeah, they have the World Cup. Well, Gary Bettman just confirmed World Cup of Hockey is guaranteed for 2028.
I did see that.
So we have 2026 Olympics, 2028 World Cup. And I think Crosby could potentially play in one more Olympics. I think the World Cup of Hockey is a little bit of a stretch in terms to say whether he's going to play now or not. But I definitely think we'll see him in a Canada jersey again. But off the topic of Crosby, what about him over the last 15 years being 26-0 in a Canadian jersey?
Definitely.
26-0 in the last 15 years.
Definitely the best Canadian leader in Canadian history. I mean, that guy does not lose.
He might go down. I think he might go down as the best player to ever represent his country.
I think
in hockey or just sports?
No. In hockey. We're talking hockey here. This is a hockey podcast.
Okay.
He's been the face of Canada since he basically has been in the league.
Yeah, since he got drafted. I mean.
Yeah, since his World Juniors year, I want to say it was in 2004 with Bergeron and Corey Perry, and arguably the best World Junior team Canada's ever sent to the tournament.
Yeah.
He's been the face of Hockey Canada. He has been Captain Canada, and he proves time and time again why a player like Connor McDavid is wearing an A instead of a C when he's representing his country. There's not a lot of players that will be given a C over Connor McDavid, but if there's one, it's going to be Crosby.
Hey, I love to see the humility out of McDavid, too, when they asked him the question on who should get the C, and he put Crosby's name out there. Well, I love the humility out of that.
That's the one thing that I love about hockey. Hockey is a sport of humility, and I think anyone sees it, and you see it more when you really play the game and understand it, especially the way that we do. Like, we don't play at the same level, but hockey as a whole, like, it's a small world.
Yeah.
It's a small world, and it's like, you understand, like, I feel like hockey players know their role. Connor McDavid knows he's the best player in the world right now, but if you're going to put him side to side with Crosby and ask him who should be the leader of Team Canada, he's not saying himself. 11 times out of 10, he's saying Crosby.
Yeah. And I don't even think Crosby would, like, if you ask Crosby who should be captain,
he'd probably say
I don't even think he'd say himself.
Probably not, but that's how hockey players work. That's the whole humility aspect of the sport.
And going off of Crosby's leadership, even after the game, I saw post-game viewers. I don't remember who exactly said it, but last game Canada was up big. They had 2-0 lead early. Sweden came back, battled back, and in the post-game presser, I heard someone say, "It's great to have a guy like Sidney Crosby on the bench, calming the whole bench down, getting everybody ready to go for the overtime, saying like, game's not over. We got one goal. Let's just finish this." And it's a testament to Crosby's leadership and how all these guys, even how good they are, how much they don't have like ego when they see Crosby. They're like
it's all respect.
It's all respect, and let's get this done.
Building off how you mentioned that it was a quick 2-0 lead for Canada. I thought Canada was going to run away with that game.
I think everyone did, but that goes back to I feel like a lot of teams are overlooking Sweden. Finland especially, Finland's the oddball out in the tournament. I think we could all agree on that.
Yeah.
But I think Sweden, the way that they came out, kind of came out hot. I mean, they're playing at Bell Center. They're playing in Montreal. That's home soil. This is the first big best-on-best tournament since the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. I expected nothing less. Like we said, Canada scored, 54 seconds into the game?
Yeah.
11 seconds into the power play with arguably the best power play
Ever.
unit ever assembled. Like, actually one of the craziest things that I've ever watched.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be probably the most entertaining power play you'll ever see.
No, exactly. So it's like going back to what you said, Milks. I did think Canada was going to run away with it, but I am not in the slightest surprised that we got free hockey out of that game.
It was a great game. Overall, great game.
Now, I have a question for the two of you. Jordan Binnington, named Canada's starting goalie, obviously played yesterday. I'm not going to lie, personal opinion, I don't think he looked great. I think the two goals he let up were softies. One of them, whatever, put pucks on net, good things happen. It found the back of the net. The second shot, he might have been screened, he might have not, but a shot from the slot, get a blocker on it one way or another. My question to you guys is their next game's against USA. Do you stay with Binnington or do you put Aiden Hill between the pipes?
I honestly thought they would start by throwing Aiden Hill in the net. I didn't think they would start with Binnington, and so I do think they should put Aiden Hill in there, see what he can do.
Yeah,
they've seen Binnington play.
I definitely think Aiden Hill should get a shot, but I'm not completely sold on giving him the shot against the USA. I would say put Binnington back in against the USA. Just because he played the first game, he's already up to speed. You know, when's the last time Aiden Hill actually played a game? He doesn't even start every game for Vegas.
Yeah.
So I think you would rather put Aiden Hill against a Finland team that's a little bit worse and see how he does, and then you can go from there.
Talk about how Canada just didn't even bring Logan Thompson on that roster too.
I think that's the biggest snub of the tournament. I mean, I know we spoke about it a little bit off camera, but there were quite a few snubs across all teams, mainly U.S. and Canada, just because of how much star power they have. Yeah. But I think Logan Thompson is the one name that everyone's kind of been saying in terms of Canada. Biggest snub, who should be, I mean, all the comment sections on who should start Canada's first game. 3 options. Aiden Hill, Jordan Binnington, and then Sam Montembeault.
Yeah.
All the comments, who should start? Logan Thompson. Yeah. Logan Thompson, which I completely agree with.
I agree with too.
But then it goes back to, I hate when politics get in the way of what occurs within a team, and that's exactly what happened with Team Canada and exactly why Logan Thompson's not on the team.
I think there's politics with Logan Thompson. I also saw that there is politics with Nick Suzuki not making the team.
I did hear that too, because he declined offers to represent his country in previous years, which, like for world championships and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if this is best on best, it's like, all right, a player like Nick Suzuki, he hasn't represented Canada, but at the same time, it's like, you got to look at the reasons behind it. Was he hurt? Was he banged up? It's after full 82-game season. He might not be in the physical shape to play an extra X amount of games in the World Championship. So I think that a lot of that needs to be taken into account. In terms of Logan Thompson, you said it a little bit earlier in the show, Vegas kind of gave up on him. I agree with that when you said that. I think Logan Thompson would be a much better goalie than Aiden Hill is right now in Vegas. But aside from that, you just gave up on the best goalie that is offered to you. And your goaltenders as a whole, they
might be the weakest in the tournament.
I was just going to say, like, they're the weakest part of your team, but they're the weakest out of every 4 nations team goaltending.
That is the one bad point. If you look at Canada's roster, you just say...
Yeah.
That could be what bites them in the end.
And I have a question. Aside from all the star power Canada's always had, what's one thing Canada's always been looked at as being good for producing? Goaltending. Yeah. Marty Brodeur, Marc-Andre Fleury, Carey Price, Roberto Luongo. Like, look back 15, 20 years, it was never a question of, is Canada going to have a good goalie? The question was always, who's going to be Canada's goalie?
Yeah.
There was never a question of, are they going to have a reliable goalie?
Yeah.
It was, who's going to be the reliable goalie for this specific tournament?
There's one other player that I really kind of want to just mention quickly about Canada. Now, I would have loved to see a guy like Connor Bedard play on that team. Just to see him play with some of these top players in the league. I know he had not a great start to the beginning of the year, which kind of threw him off pace to make the team. But to see him go out there with McDavid potentially and just see what this young talent can produce, I mean, he's basically their whole Blackhawks team. Like,
Yeah.
He's carrying the load, and he's a 18-year-old. 19-year-old now. You put him with McDavid, I would love to see his ceiling on that team. Now, yeah, he did it to himself maybe, but I just think it would have been so entertaining to put a guy like that on that team. And then plus it builds for the future because he's going to be one of the foundations of Canada going forward for whether it's Olympics, World Cup of Hockey,
any tournament.
So to just give him that experience while he's young, and then by the time he's 26, I mean, who knows what his potential is going to be from there.
Yeah. I mean, Melks, I agree with what you're saying. I also see it from the standpoint of why Canada left them off the team. They already have all the top-end talent any team would ever need. So why not fill the rest of the forward core with pieces that are good offensively and defensively?
Yeah.
And that's why I think Anthony Cirelli made the team.
Role pieces.
Brandon Hagel made the team. Like over guys like Connor Bedard, because those guys will bring more of an impact to Canada's team in a two-way fashion than Bedard would right now.
100%.
And
100%.
I also think Bedard is going to be on Team Canada in the Olympics in 2 years, and I think he will be in every single Canada team.
He absolutely should
coming
be.
Up.
Yeah, no. And then,
Talk about Celebrini too.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he's playing,
No,
he should be in
100
there too.
No, 100%. But then again, going back to specifically this tournament, I have no problem with Canada leaving him off the roster. Obviously, I would love to see him on a team with McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, like you name it. Like it makes me smile just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But realistically, just because a kid's a first overall pick, he's looked at as the next face of the NHL, you can't give him everything.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to earn what you get. And like you said, he might have done it to himself, but he didn't earn a spot on this Canada team. So to give him a spot, now you're just going to look right back into politics, but in the opposite way. Oh, he only made the team because he's Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
He didn't make the team because he deserved it. So I have absolutely no issue with that in the sense that he's 19 years old. He has how many more tournaments to represent Canada? He's already
Hopefully a lot.
He's already done so much for Canada as is, and he's only 19. So I'm very excited to see how it is, and quite honestly, just understanding the type of person Connor Bedard is, just from watching him as a player, watching interviews, he's gonna take this, and this is gonna be fuel to the fire.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not happy about it. He understands why, but he's not happy about it, and he's the type of player where I guarantee you he's back home, wherever home might be for him.
Put his head down and go to work.
Exactly. I was gonna say he's
should.
probably in his basement, in his backyard, ripping pucks because he's mad he's not out there with them right now.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
A little sneak peek into tonight's game, U.S.-Finland.
Who?
Yep. I want to know what you guys expect from both teams, kind of looking ahead into it.
I think USA is going to come out flying.
I mean, look at the booze that Austin Matthews got yesterday in Montreal.
I think if you look at how much chemistry is on this team between a lot of these guys have played with each other at one point in their career. I mean, the chemistry is unmatched. You got both the Chuck brothers playing together, which we mentioned. We mentioned J.G. Miller and Trocheck and Kreider. People forget about Kreider, but he's there. Fox as well. And then you got guys like Eichel, Larkin, like a lot of Tkachuk. I'm pretty sure they all played together on the development team at one point.
And what I wanted to say is you're talking about chemistry. A lot of USA has the USA development camp. Canada doesn't really have that, where a lot of these guys around the same age for USA have played a couple years with each other, just developing their skills.
Number one, yes, and number two, a majority of this USA team is 97 birth year. Yeah. Like that 97 birth year,
they're so young.
Completely dominates.
They're so
the
young.
US. Number one, they're so young. Number two, they're so good.
Yeah.
Like so much of that US team is 97 birth year that not only are they carrying this country now, they're going to be for the next number of years. And it's going to be really exciting to see, because a lot of people are saying that, I guess the comparison between Canadian hockey and U.S. hockey is sort of slimming.
It's getting really close.
It's slimming, and I completely agree. Now, I mean, a little bit off topic, but now you look at the CHL players being allowed to play NCAA hockey.
Yeah.
that opens up an entire different highway for player development,
Yeah.
which I think is only going to be a positive asset to the game.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a time will tell type of thing, but I think it's all good for the game.
Especially when you got a guy like Michael Misa, who's projected to be a top 3 pick, and he's getting poached right now by BU.
Oh, yeah.
Like, watching college hockey is going to become so entertaining if a lot of these top guys decide, I'm not going to go right to the NHL. You know, I'm 18. I want to maybe go to college for a year.
Yeah.
Then go. I mean, college hockey is going to just expand so much.
I love college hockey as is. I think that player development is very important. I mean, look at a lot of teams that rush players into the professional setting, whether that be the AHL or the NHL, and they come out and they have growing pains. I mean, Jack Hughes in his first season, terrible. Alexis Lafreniere, not very good in his first year. Kapokako, same thing. It's like
Slavkovsky, another
first overall pick. Owen Powers went back to Michigan after being the first overall pick. It's like there are growing pains. Just because you're the first overall pick does not mean you're good enough to be in the league.
It doesn't mean you have to go straight to the league.
So now imagine you have a player from the U.S. or Canada. They play in the CHL from the ages of 15, 16 to 17, 18. Now you get drafted, you whatever. Now you go to the NCAA. You play another year or two. Then you go to the NHL. That just opens up a whole new world of development because the CHL has a lot to offer, but so does the NCAA.
Yeah.
So kind of merging the two worlds, I feel like is going to be incredible. But getting back on track with the Four Nations talk, we were talking about college. Quinn Hughes, former college hockey player. Word is out. He's injured. He's not joining the team. Can't play with his brother Jack. Would have been the first time that they're sharing the ice together. But from an overall standpoint, how do you guys see Quinn Hughes' injury kind of having an effect on the U.S.'s blue line?
I mean, I think America's they got a pretty stacked blue line as a whole. They're not gonna miss him too much, but I think if he's healthy, he would still 100% be the best defenseman on the USA's roster, probably quarterbacking their first power play instead of Fox. But I think USA will still figure out a way. They called up Jake Sanderson, who is still an amazing replacement for Quinn Hughes, and I don't think it will have too big of an impact on USA's ability to compete and their defensive ability.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be completely honest, I think I had this conversation with you, Milks, but when the word first came out about Quinn Hughes being out, I kind of compared that to Canada not having Cale Makar. In the sense where that's your number one D-man. Obviously, you have the depth through and through. But I still think it's going to have a little bit more of an effect than we think in terms of the foundation of the team. Like, imagine, okay, so Adam Fox is on the power play one for the U.S. right now. Imagine having Quinn Hughes on one and Adam Fox on two.
Yeah, it makes a big difference there.
Like, I really do think that makes a big difference because putting a player like Adam Fox on the second power play unit, you're giving him that extra second of freedom. Obviously, it's best on best. You got awesome players no matter where you're being placed. But putting him up against a second PK unit versus a first PK unit, I really do think could make a big difference. But like you said, the U.S. has such depth throughout their team, but specifically their defense right now, because we're talking about it, that, okay, I kind of agree with what you said. They might not miss him as much as I personally said they would, but then again, you also have a player like Zach Werenski, who's arguably the best defenseman in the NHL right now in terms of this specific season.
Yeah. I mean, just to chime in there, obviously it would have been great to watch the Hughes brothers play together. You got both the Chucks and the Hughes brothers playing. Like that would have been awesome.
Next time we might see all three together.
Yeah.
Which that would be even crazier. Mm-hmm. But personally, yeah, it stinks that he can't play. I don't think it's gonna put our D-core in a situation where we're necessarily that much worse just because of how deep our D-core goes. I wouldn't necessarily compare Quinn Hughes going out compared to Makar going out just because I feel like the U.S. has a little bit better depth defensively than Canada. So if Cale Makar went down, it would hurt them. I think it would hurt them more than us losing Quinn Hughes just based on that depth factor. But, I mean, just in general, Quinn Hughes has been carrying the Canucks. And to have a guy like that quarterbacking your first power play unit with Chuck, Hughes, Matthews, and Eichel, that matches up almost perfectly to Canada's PP1. I mean, I would still give Canada the upper hand.
100%. And then the one thing that I would also give Canada an upper hand for is their first defensive pair is Cale Makar and Devon Tays.
Yeah.
They play together in Colorado.
Yeah, they have great chemistry, too.
Like, imagine your best defensive pair for your national team plays together in the NHL. Like, in what world is that fair? It's not.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of NHL talk, for four nations, by all means, have at it.
Yeah.
But now you put that exact pair in the NHL together, like, I don't know. It blows my mind that the Islanders got rid of that for 2 second-round picks, but what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Going back on USA, I thought it was a pretty interesting choice that they named Matthews captain over a couple of players. I want to know what you guys think about that.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not too surprised that they named Matthews captain, but generally I understand what you mean. I think that there's a reason why, and it's because he was one of the first original players selected for the team. I think that played a big role. He wears a C for his franchise in the NHL. He's a proven player, as obviously most of these guys are. But looking down the line, Matt Boldy, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Jake Gensel, Jack Hughes, Chris Kreider, Dylan Larkin, JT Miller, Brock Nelson, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, and Vinny Trocheck out of the forwards. I think there's an argument for Vinny Trocheck just because from watching the Rangers closely, seeing the type of player he is and whatnot, he could be he's a good leader. That's no questions asked. But out of that forward group, I don't think I'd really pick anyone other than Matthews to have a C.
I think it's tough just because of how young the team is.
I agree.
It's such a young team that it's like there's not really a veteran presence that would I guess Chris Kreider would be a veteran presence, but I wouldn't give him the C.
Out of their entire forward group, the only player other than Matthews to have worn a C for an NHL franchise is Jack Eichel when he did for the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, like the only other guy that I would maybe consider giving the C would be Matthew Tkachuk or Brady, but Brady's just. I feel like Brady's a little too young for that role.
No, I would go Matthew. I would go Matthew Tkachuk if I would give it to one of the Tkachuk brothers. But that brings me back to my point where, other than Matthews, nobody currently wears a C for their franchise, which I think out of the forward group.
Okay.
Out of the forward group. Which I feel like is a reason why they chose Matthews, because he has that experience already. He wears that letter. Not that other guys don't wear a letter, but there's a difference between wearing an A and wearing a C.
I don't personally disagree with the choice. I just thought it was interesting when I saw it because I thought there was other candidates.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely would have been top 3 for candidates for captain-wise. I just wanted to see what you guys thought.
Who would you have given the C to?
It would have been between Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk, and Quinn Hughes for me.
Yeah.
Quinn Hughes obviously isn't on the team anymore.
Yeah.
But those probably would have been the 3 guys that I would have thought of to pick.
Yeah,
and
I actually really like that question because looking down that line, there are a lot of really good leaders, but now it's just like who's a good enough leader to kind of lead that national team, you know? It's like not a lot of these guys, let alone wearing for their franchises, they haven't worn a letter for their country.
I mean, you have to think about it. This is Matthews' first year with a C too. It's not like he's a experienced captain, you know. It's his first time getting the C in Toronto.
Okay, he might not be an experienced captain, but he had a previous letter. The only reason why he didn't have a C was because it was given to JT.
Obviously,
and aside from that, even when Tavares had the C, he was the face of the franchise. He was the go-to for everyone. So I feel like he was the same way that Vinny Trocheck in my eyes is kind of like the unofficial captain of the Rangers right now.
Yeah, he'll be the next captain.
Yeah, like he's my unofficial captain for the Rangers. That was what Matthews was before he had the C. Everyone knew it. It just wasn't official.
Yeah.
So that was actually a good question because that like really got my brain turned because there are a lot of good candidates. I think Quinn Hughes is probably the closest.
Yeah.
To
if
challenging
he was playing,
him.
yeah.
But obviously the injury negates that. But kind of one more thing before we jump into a little bit of D1 talk because we're running short on time is what a cool experience is it for someone like Charlie McAvoy, Long Island native, Boston Bruin defenseman, playing for his father-in-law, Mike Sullivan, who's currently the coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
It's a great story. Something you love to hear in the sports world.
He's also playing with Adam Fox, who he played with
Growing up.
He grew up.
Me and Solon know this well. They grew up 15 minutes away from us and played together on a team that we used to play for.
Yeah, played for the same organization. The Long Island Gulls, the 97 birth year team, the first Long Island Gulls team to make a national championship. So that's
even more chemistry for the boys.
Exactly. So I think that's like a really cool underlying story of the tournament. Not a lot of people are talking about that. Not there's much of a reason to talk about it, but I just think that that's cool. You don't see a lot of stuff like that kind of occur, or when they do occur, they're not really brought to light. So I think that was something that I heard that I thought was kind of a unique situation in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun, boys.
Yeah.
These next few games are going to be a lot of fun.
All right, so we already
I know, right?
So we have a result for Canada-Sweden. Obviously, Canada took that one in overtime.
Yes.
In a couple hours, we have a puck, or
30 minutes.
Fact, yeah, in 30 minutes from the time that we're recording this, the U.S. is about to drop the puck against Finland. What are you guys' predictions?
Well, I think, like we mentioned earlier, Finland is an overlooked team, but you can't really count any of these teams out. These guys are all NHL players. They all know how to play the game.
We saw it yesterday
Yeah.
with Canada-Sweden.
We're going to, people probably expect USA to blow this team out of the water, but Finland probably has a game plan where they're going to be a little more defensive because they know they can't match the offensive power.
And also think about how many of these players have played with and currently play with each other. They know each other a lot better than we think they do.
And their goaltenders aren't scrubs either.
UC Saros he's been a Vezina candidate, one of the best in the league for a while.
I think it's going to be probably within 1 to 2 goals. I would take it within. I think unless there's an empty netter, it would probably be a 1-goal game.
U.S. or Finland?
America, baby.
Yep, those are.
I mean, I agree with Milks. I think people are going to expect this game to be a lot bigger of a blowout than I think it will be. I think it might be very similar to last night's game where USA starts out hot and the Finns, they get their mojo going. They make a little comeback, and I think in the third period we will see a 1-goal game and a competitive game.
I mean,
I think the Finns, they play very well together. They play a very good two-way game, and that's just a testament to their whole nation. I think if you think of Finnish players, you think of Barkov, where probably the best two-way player in the NHL. Like we said, he's like Patrice Bergeron, where he could lock down any single player on the USA roster. So I'm excited. Everyone's excited, and I think it's going to be a great game.
I think he's going to be the exact type of leader that you would want for that team. So he's going to be able to get the boys to rally. He's going to have that Sidney Crosby leadership on the bench, getting the jitters out of the boys, making sure they calm down, make the smart plays, just being positionally in the right spots. I think this is going to be a close game, a good game. I think it's going to be more physical than people think too. There's going to be some big bodies out there.
I completely agree with that, especially with the Chuck brothers out there. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. But I think we're all on the same page. I think America's on top. Yeah. But
baby.
What are you guys' thoughts on Freebird? Goal song confirmed.
I love that.
What
is it?
Freebird again. Same
I
thing.
love that.
Ride what's been working. Don't fix what's not broken. But
exactly.
A little bit off topic, but I love how USA has a stall in the locker room with Johnny Gaudreau with his jersey hung up.
One of the best stories in hockey.
And we didn't talk about it earlier, but I know we will in future podcasts about how good Columbus has been, and I think a reason for that is they're all rallying around.
Huge motivator. I mean, yeah,
100%. They got somebody upstairs watching down on them, that's for sure. But going back to the U.S.-Finland game, I think we all have America. My final score prediction, I'm going to say 5-2 U.S.
5-2. I got a closer one. I got a 4-3, potentially 5-3.
Let me specify. I have 4-2
with an empty netter.
4-2, 5-2 with the empty netter.
Yeah, I was going 4.
I like the low scoring theme. I think it's going to be a hard fought game. I'm thinking 3-2 USA.
Yeah,
I like it. A little. We got a couple more minutes left. A little rundown on our D1 hockey teams over here at Sacred Heart. In terms of the men's, they are in the AHA, the Atlantic Hockey Association, the conference, and they're currently tied in first place with Holy Cross, tied with 47 points, but Sacred Heart has played 2 more games, so they obviously lose that tiebreaker. Junior transfer Felix Trudeau is leading the way with 35 points in 32 games, the only point-per-game player Sacred Heart has currently on their roster. Next up is defenseman Mikey Adamson, who is having a crazy breakout year. 10 goals, 15 assists in 30 games, followed by captain and grad student John Jaworski, who has 24 points in those 32 games. So obviously, Sacred Heart's looking to take home the Atlantic Hockey Conference. They've been playing solid hockey. They've been very good against non-conference opponents. We went to a couple games ourselves. Obviously, a few more weeks left before the playoffs, but any quick little thoughts on that team?
They have had some pretty big upset wins this year. I mean, I know they had that win against UMass at UMass. That's a big win. I think they've kind of exceeded some expectations. I mean, I've never really considered Sacred Heart to be at the top of the division. I've always thought we were kind of a middle level team, and to see us kind of elevate our game a little bit's good for the school. I mean, especially with the new rink we just got. So I think the more people that go, the better the games will be. I mean, we went to the Connecticut
Ice,
the tournament here. I mean, they did make it to the finals, and they played UConn, who has a really good team. They're ranked in the top 20,
nationally ranked team, and we held them to within 1.
And it was a 2-1 game, and we honestly kind of looked better. Like, take away the first 10 minutes of the game, and I think we played better than them for the rest of that game. We were more physical. I think we looked faster, had better opportunities, just couldn't put the puck away. But overall, I like to see that the team is moving in a better direction, and I think the sky's the limit for the future of this team. It's just it's not a matter of
if but when.
If but when.
Yeah.
Can't say it better than that.
And I just think it's exciting that this is probably the first year that we've been here where we actually think the team has a chance of making the NCAA tournament. That's if they win their conference. Obviously, they're not going to go far in the NCAA tournament, but that would still be a very cool thing. And on a national stage, seeing Sacred Heart play one of these top teams would bring a lot of people in and would just look good for the school overall.
100%.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it goes back to what actually, Dozer, you kind of picked into my pocket with that, with the NCAA tournament. I was going to say, like, a lot of preseason predictions had Sacred Heart winning the conference, going to the NCAA tournament, which, like you said, is good for the school, is something that we haven't experienced while students here. And then on top of it, it goes back to the whole CHL being allowed to be in the NCAA. Like, they have a couple signings from the OHL Peterborough Petes already for next season. Guess what? College hockey is going to get a whole lot better. And with an arena like ours, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that in the next 5 to 10 years, Sacred Heart's going to be on the map in terms of hockey.
In terms of them opening up the NCAA to these Canadian hockey teams, it's going to be a whole lot harder for kids to play D1. It's gonna make hockey as a whole, the competition's going to be really, really good. And that's going to be good for us.
I see a lot more teams including Division I hockey in their programs.
Absolutely. And I think this is going to bolster all of college hockey, including the ACHA. I mean, you're going to see a lot of guys who could potentially be playing D1 hockey, but now there's such a big collective of guys coming from Canada that maybe they don't make the cut because of that. So they go to other programs. Maybe they don't want to play D3 for whatever reason. It's going to boost college hockey to a whole nother level as a whole, not just Division 1, but Division 1, Division 3,
club hockey.
And it's going to bring a whole bunch of new viewers. Like, I don't think anyone from Canada really watches American college hockey now that there's a bunch of these Canadian hockey players going to the NCAA. That's going to bring a lot more viewers, and I just think the whole sport is going to expand. Like, you see college basketball and college football, like, they get all these ads, all these revenue coming in because people are interested. I think we're going to see a whole bunch of new viewers and a whole lot more money being
Yeah.
dumped into college hockey.
And NIL is going to change the game too for a lot of these
NIL
top
already
picks.
has.
Like I said earlier, I know BU is trying to get Misa to
And
play
they've
on their
already-
team,
BU has already reportedly offered Misa millions in
which
NIL
is
deals.
and if you're a player, why wouldn't you take that? Like, you're going to get drafted and sign an entry level contract deal for less than $1 million when you can go to BU and you're already making $1 million. Like, if I was a Canadian hockey player like that, I would take that deal and run with it.
Yeah, no, but then again, it goes back to the caliber, the type of player you are. Like, obviously, not every player is like a Michael Misa.
Yeah,
But obviously, if you're that kind of caliber player, you do your due diligence in the CHL. You come down north or to south of the border. Canada's obviously North America, and kind of see where your development goes in the NCAA, and then you hit the ground running in the NHL or wherever you might be. I mean, look at someone like Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah,
Graduated high school a year early, played a 17-year-old season at BU, makes a national championship, first overall pick, absolutely dominating the NHL.
Dominating.
He won Hobie Baker last
He
year.
did.
Yeah,
as a
he was.
freshman.
Yeah, he was the first freshman since I want to say Jack Eichel who won the.
No,
Hobie Baker.
Fantilli.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Fantilli
You're
and then
very right.
Eichel.
You're very right. Yeah,
And Fantilli's having a good year
yeah,
too.
Yeah, he really is.
He's really broken out since moving up to the first line since Monahan got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a
And
lot
then-
of young, exciting talent that's just bursting from the scene.
Yeah, no, I mean college hockey is going to get exciting. Like we said, from D1 to D3 to club, whether it's ACHA, like ACHA D1's already so competitive. Now you add the leftover guys who, like you said, Milks might not want to play D3 for whatever reason. You see a bunch of those guys already going ACHA D1.
Yeah.
ACHA D1's practically school funded for most of the top 10 programs in the
And some of
the
those
country.
schools, honestly, are probably better than the NCAA D3 teams.
I mean, look
They-
at what happened with UNLV in Denver
I know.
over winter break.
Crazy.
Go ahead, say what you want. Denver might have not had their head coach Steve Boyum, but if you're the reigning
Still.
national champions for NCAA Division I, you should not be losing to an ACHA Division I club hockey team.
Exactly.
No matter the circumstances.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But moving on to our women's team here at Sacred Heart, they're second in their conference right now behind Long Island University. They've played one less game, but they are 4 points back. Right now, leading point getters, Isabella Chupa, sophomore, who has 16 points in 29 games. Alyssa Antonakis has 12 and 30, and Kate Helgeson has 12 and 29. I mean, then again, that's another Sacred Heart Division I hockey team that's right on top of their conference standings. Sacred Heart women's hockey has been in a similar position for the last couple of years. Haven't been successful, looking for the first New Hall Conference Championship since 2018. But obviously, a lot to look forward to in terms of Division I hockey here at Sacred Heart. From our men's potentially making an NCAA, or knock on wood, chance of making an NCAA tournament, to our women's team.
Sure.
With a chance to win their conference. There's really a lot to look forward to, and I'm excited not to see what is going to happen the next few weeks at the end of this season, but also in the future with everything that we've spoken about.
Yeah, I mean it's great for the school to have programs that are becoming successful, and I think over the next few years you're really going to start to see these hockey programs start to blossom. So I think these players are doing great at setting a good foundation between both the men and the women. I know the women kind of get overlooked a little bit by the men's team, but they're doing a great job. They're right on top of the conference, and they're sitting at a chance to be in first place. So as long as they stay dialed in, finish out the season, they could do some great things as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered everything that we needed to cover for this first episode. Yeah, welcome once again to our podcast, Three Gyms Talk Hockey. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure to tune into the next episode when it's out. Once again, I'm Solon Mijas alongside Michael Cardoza and Matthew Milko.
Please like and subscribe.
Till next episode, thank you, everyone.